Oh, welcome back. Here we are to another edition of Neighborhood Training. And as we mentioned before, we are up in the North Falmouth area working our way through. This week we're going to work on the Wild Harbor Estates neighborhood off of Quaker Road in North Falmouth. And we're going to take off now to Alder Lane in Wild Harbor Estates. So here we go. All right. Just to give a overview as we're looking over our way, I'm sure everybody's familiar with where we are located. But just to refresh our memory, we are looking at, last week we were working over here in the Bay Shores area, and then we'll go across the water to go across to the Wild Harbor Estates neighborhood, and Quaker Road runs right over right over through here, just to give our location in Curly Boulevard over in here. So that's the layout, geography. You just see some of the things that we'll have to keep in mind. There won't be everyday issues, but just the things to keep in mind, that because of this marshy area in here, you could have swimmers or boaters or ice skaters perhaps in the wintertime. And during Hurricane Bob, we did have quite a bit of flooding up in the Silver Beach area, so I imagine as well there probably was some flooding in the Bay Shores and over in this Wild Harbor Estates area as well. But not to spend too much time on that. Just run real quick. This neighborhood, as you go through it, it is all single-family dwellings. I saw no commercial interest. I saw no accessory apartments. As we worked my way around the neighborhood, what I did see is homes of all different designs: contemporaries, capes, ranches, colonials. I think there was even gambrels in there, but they were all pretty good size, moderate size. Nothing really huge, but still probably in the order of 2,000 to 3,000 square foot size of homes. And here's where we be the entrance off of Quaker. Pretty well lit and pretty well good signage and everything else right here at the intersection. So we shouldn't have any problem finding it. And down here is, as I mentioned, down here is Curly Boulevard. So, but the way we will get there from Station 3 is to go up Wild Harbor Road and come down Quaker from Wild Harbor. Would be the most direct route to this area as well. So there's our intersection right there. And one thing I will mention is that just beside this entrance here is a small dirt road that services this house over in here. And it is just a little dirt road. It's like 578 Quaker Road. And you would barely notice it, but it is right beside this entrance. It's a long driveway. Services this home here. A lot of people might, if there was a fire here, somebody might say it was in Wild Harbor Estates. As a matter of fact, it's right. It's an access bay road off of that. So just something to keep in mind. All right. Our main road as we go in is Birch Lane, and it runs all the way down to the water. And it's a pretty straight road, pretty well kept, and it runs right down to the beach. And as you notice here at the very end of Birch Lane is a kind of a beach parking lot and beach access over here. And the other main road that is of significance, well, they're all significant, of course, but there's Alder Lane. Alder Lane is the loop road that goes around the whole development. So we need to follow that, but it is kind of winding. So it's one of those roads that even though it does loop all the way around, in this particular development, it's going to be important for us to look at it and figure out where, whoops, sorry about that, where the best way to access, and this is where the dispatchers are going to have to get a heads up as well, to the best way to access this particular areas within there, because as you can see, the Alder is pretty long. You know, runs all the way down, kind of loops around here. You really can't go much more than 25-30 miles an hour because it's pretty circuitous. So it is going to be good for us to see that there's this cross street here, shortcut here of Redbud. So Redbud does go right across to cut through mostly the bottom part. There's, the other crossway to go through is to Redbud, to Sassafras, which is Sassafras comes all the way down here. Okay, Redbud, Sassafras, Inkberry would get us up into around this 204 Alder Lane area. But there's not too much else that we can do to get us a shortcut in this little dom of land here. So that's the way they designed it. That's the way they developed it. So it will take us a little while to get into a road there, or even this 204 Alder Lane is going to take a while to get to. And I just picked that as our distance measurements, just because it presents a little bit more of a challenge than just a straight in shot. So as I mentioned, that we have Birch is a straight in, Alder's a circle, the loop road, and Redbud is a cut through, and then we have Sassafras and Inkberry. What we also have down in the very beginning is Ironwood. And Ironwood is this little cul-de-sac right off of, oh, I remember how to go the other way. There we go. There we go. That's Ironwood. Okay, just a short little cul-de-sac with a few houses on it. It fills in this area here. And the other section that we have is Buckthorn, which is way down at the end. And Buckthorn is right up here. And we'll just zoom in real quick. There's Buckthorn. And we just have to remember they pronounce these roads correctly over the radio, and that's one of the reasons why we do a lot of parroting of our phrasing and our words. We repeat back what has been said, because there's a big difference in distance, but not a big difference in pronunciation between Buckthorn and Blackthorn. And Blackthorn would send us out into a whole nother area of town. So we have to listen to what the callers are telling us, confirm it with the 911, pronounce it correctly, and make sure we get to Buckthorn Lane. And as you can see, some of the houses up here, like this one here, is pretty large. And I'll show you a picture from the other side, from Bayshores, and show you the dimensions of this house comparatively to the other places. And the other thing to recall that there is a tennis court area in here. I don't think too many people are going to get injured playing tennis, but they could say, hey, we got a heart attack at the tennis court, up in Wild Harbor Estates. So, and that's off of Alder Lane. Okay, so not a very difficult development. We'll go easy on this one. Next week we're going to be working into New Silver Beach, which is going to take us a little bit of time to work through. But that's just a reference there. Most all the lots are filled in. We did have a couple of houses there, a couple of fires on there, I believe. I believe that Mike Mattel got injured at an explosion, actually, in a house there. So it's good to, you might want to just mention to, if you see Mike, see if he recalls that and can give you some insight, because I think that was a kind of a pressurized cylinder, I believe, that blew. Okay, so all right, now we'll just take a quick look. Oh boy, I didn't set this map up here. So anyway, sorry, we'll take a couple of minutes and see if I can't get this zoomed out correctly here. Sorry about that. This map it's a okay map. It just takes some time to load up and get ready. So let me get this squared away here. All right, now I just got to work the way up here. So that's Wild Harbor Estates. Like I say, there's about 170 houses in there. So roughly that's going to be about 320 or so residents. There is a large fluctuation, seasonal fluctuation up there. So just something to be aware of as we go up there. And yeah, I know, we're making our way up there. I should have had this all set up. Crying out loud. Okay, yeah, we're working our way up. Okay. All right, now, come on. Okay, now we're getting there. All right. ICP shows. Okay, there we go. And there's one more road here that I was trying to show that I couldn't show before. Here we go. Okay. Okay, that's what we wanted to show. I wanted to show you the connection there with Redbud being the cross through, and then Sassafras to Inkberry. And I also wanted to show that Aspen Lane is this very small cul-de-sac here with 4 or 5 homes on it, but it's off of Sassafras. Okay, so that's going to mess that up. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. We have hydrants throughout the neighborhood. There are underground utilities throughout the neighborhood, so we are good with utilities. And then we'll pull up some of these pictures here. Once again, I didn't have these listed correctly, but anyway, here we're going to start out. Yeah, there's the Becker car 32. Yeah, great. Just what we wanted to see. Okay, you're probably all familiar with this. The main entrance to Wild Harbor Estates. Like I say, well signed, guardhouse. So we're all familiar with that. Pop up a few of the homes in the neighborhood, as you see. This nice little, we'll call it a cape with a 2-car garage, so probably about 1,500 square foot probably. And this house here with a 3-car garage, and above this 3-car garage is a large bonus room, so-called. I don't know if there's bedrooms up above there, but it's a good reason. You have a 3-car garage, 3 cars inside of there, a lot of combustible, a lot of high fire load in there. 5/8 sheetrock is the code in that garage, plus necessary to have heat detectors over each one of these bays. And the good reason for that is if there's a bedroom above all this fire load here, we got to protect those occupants there. So just something to always keep in mind is where the bedrooms are, what we have for impingement or other fire load. Just those little things that we can keep in mind. All right, it's 23. Okay, it's 24. Okay, and we'll go to this place here. Now this is the house I was showing you on Buckthorn Lane, and as you can see, this is a pretty good size place, and the water, the ocean is on the back side of this. But let's see if I can pull up the picture that yeah, there's the picture from across from Bay Shores looking at the house. So the other picture was showing us on the inside part of the house, and it doesn't really look that large. But when you see the out, it's kind of curved. So the inside is obviously going to be smaller than the outside. So it is pretty large, especially when you compare it to this ranch next door, which is probably 1,500 square foot ranch over here. You're looking at this place here, and you're probably looking 6,000. Probably 5,000–6,000 square foot, and then even this house over here is 3 levels, and it's a good size in itself, but nothing compared to this one here. So just to keep that in mind, and just think about how we might fight a fire in a place like that. Try to contain it to one area of the house, so it wouldn't run the whole entire length. I mean, this is almost like a commercial structure. Might we want to do a trench cut in here to keep the fire from running all the way down here? Do we have fire rolling out of some of these windows and rolling up up above and getting into the a concealed space underneath this little soffit and run up in the roof? Just something that we have to think about. Okay, let's take a look at what we have here. Here we go. This is the new Silver Beach sewer treatment plant. And it's the end of William Road, which is basically right across from New Silver Beach. But I wanted to just touch on this while we had some time on this particular presentation. Because although we don't get called too often to these facilities, they are a target hazard, and they are something that our fellow town employees are dealing with on a daily basis and do work on. What will we have with this wastewater treatment plant? Well, you possibly have deliveries of sodium hypochlorite, I believe, which is bleach, and it's a residential road, so we could have potential spill of this, or a hazmat situation down the end. We have this this treatment facility is right behind the North Falmouth School. We end up having a leak of this sodium hypochlorite, creates a gas cloud. South west wind prevailing would blow the plume right to the North Falmouth School. We're going to affect other kids. The other thing that we need to know about the treatment plant is that this is the building there, still under construction at the end of William Road. Pretty good sized building, commercial. Here we go. We're in an area where we think we're in a totally residential area. Now we get called to this building at the end of William Road. Now we're dealing with a commercial building. So, just we have to change that mindset if we get into that. I'm not sure, but I would suppose that anything having to do with sewage is, number one, going to deal with confined spaces. Okay? So our fellow town employees and workers are going to be entering these confined spaces to do maintenance on some below ground equipment. That has to be a permitted, from an OSHA permitted entry into confined space, not through us permitted, but it has to go through their own, like the town's own in-house people at the water and sewer department. They have to write up a whole paperwork on the entry. They have to have those tripods and the harnesses and so forth to go down. So we have a confined space issue to deal with if someone gets injured. But number two, we have to be thinking about air, oxygen below ground. We have to remember our percentage of oxygen below ground, whether we have any other gases that are heavier than air or any other gases, period, that are in that concealed space or that confined space, that below ground area. And as we go into New Silver Beach, I'll point out a few places that have sites for the sewer sites on there. Every house is connected to it, but there are these lift stations in there that would entail confined spaces. So just a little aside onto that, just something else for us to think about and to, now that is part of what we're doing. Okay, we'll get back to that house over there. All right, so, and we'll do a quick review here of what we talked about. We were talking about Wild Harbor Estates, and we're talking about approximately 170 wood frame. I say that just by looking at them. I would say the wood frame, as we found from last week in Bay Shores, they could be steel frame. But I believe, looking at the age of these and all that, that they're single families. I didn't see any accessory apartments, no commercial interest, 1,500, 3,000 square foot. Excuse me. All are well kept. I didn't see any really decrepit buildings in there or buildings that needed help. And Birch Lane is the main entrance road all the way to the water. Alder is the loop, Redbud's the cross. We have the Redbud Sassafras Inkberry cross, and we have Aspen Lane as well. I forgot to put that in. Aspen Lane and Sassafras, Ironwood, Buckthorn. Those are all dead ends within the development. And obviously Station 3, Rescue, 2324 for still versus 2324, 21, 26. As I mentioned, in most situations, we look at our travel time and distance. Station 3 to the deep in the Wild Harbor Estates is 2 miles. Probably 4 or 5 minutes. We're within that 4 to 6 minute window that we'd like to get for our response times. But here's the case. It is obviously, within that range. It's just down the road. And Station 4 is 4.2 miles. And so it's double the distance. So probably about 8 minutes. But by the time 23 gets on location, they should be taking some initial actions, and 24 should be able to grab the hydrant and should be well on their way. Headquarters for the ladder, 8 miles, so you're looking at probably 12 minutes away. Make sure, if you're going to do that, to leave room for that ladder at some point. That's a good access point. The first engine should pull past the building. The second engine should be at the hydrant, and we don't want to clog up. It doesn't necessarily have to be the front of the building, but in access point that we would think that would be beneficial for the ladder, that we don't want to block it up. Station 5, 8.6 miles away, and Station 2, 10.2. So just keep in mind, when the other ones are busy, that who are we going to get the help from. Okay, well, that kind of wraps up this week. Keep it kind of short. And like I said, next week we'll work our way into New Silver, an area that's been confusing to a lot of people, including myself from time to time. So hopefully we'll get something out of that. So until then, as we say, stay safe and eat healthy. Take care.